Tomozaki was a surprising favorite for me this season, and I think it's flying under the radar pretty hard. I went into it expecting the show to be a more typical comedy romance with references to video games, but Tomozaki is a lot more than that. It's about the titular Tomozaki, a very serious gamer who tops the charts in definitely not Super Smash Bros, and has a friendly rivalry with the second-ranked player in-game only. One day the player messages Tomozaki asking to meet up, so Tomozaki heads out of the house to socialize probably for the first time ever, outside of school. To Tomozaki's surprise, the second-ranked player is actually a girl, and one that he's acquainted with from his class to boot. However, Ao Hinami is none too pleased. She's frustrated that a player that she perceived as working for their position as the greatest one is, in Meat Space, a socially inept guy from her class that everyone is well aware does not work on himself. She shits all over him, which is pretty uncalled for, but it at least prompts him to explain his own position, where he goes on something of a cringy tirade about how low-tier characters like him have it unfair in life, and Stacy's like Hinami don't understand what it feels like to be considered a loser and be put down. Upon hearing this, Hinami pushes back, explaining that he's given up on his life, but believes he's capable if he would just stop being such a self-pitying dork. She ends up showing him what she looks like without makeup to emphasize that Tomozaki doesn't truly know her life experiences either, and that, in reality, Hinami puts effort into her appearance and relationships. They don't just happen magically like Tomozaki seems to believe. I'm going into detail about this scene because I think it's important in explaining why I actually love where this series is going. Tomozaki is to me the antithesis of shows like Mushoku Tensei or other escape fantasy anime you may think of. It's about a guy who wishes he were somebody else, thinking, if only I were born more handsome or charismatic, somebody who would probably love to entertain the idea of being sent to a magic world where everybody loves him, leaving behind the dreariness of his old life. But life doesn't work that way for Tomozaki. The alternative for him is someone willing to snap him out of his delusions of worthlessness, a single person willing to show him support and be honest about how everybody in truth has their own struggles. This is clearly a show meant for people who need to hear this message, people who are lost in fantasy to a point where it's no longer a hobby, it's genuine escapism, avoidance. The premise proceeds with Hinami agreeing to help Tomozaki become better at the game of life. After all, a gamer's biggest disgrace is to blame the game for the player's failure, as Tomozaki says, and so they set forth. She describes a measurable plan of action to give Tomozaki tasks to enhance his proficiency in being sociable, like forcing him outside of his comfort zone and making him talk to at least 3 girls. It's reminiscent of a real treatment plan for social anxiety, and it tickles me a lot to see those concepts applied here. The show is essentially just more of this, but it's definitely more interesting to watch than talk about, I think. There's plenty of funny interactions between characters, and it's warming to see Tomozaki slowly realize he can better himself and that people don't all just hate him like he's been used to believing. The characters are pretty cool. I really like Hinami's 2 gal pals. This one is kind of an awkward spurg that points at people a lot and tells them to shut the fuck up outright because she's almost as inept as Tomozaki but doesn't really care what they think. And this one's really cheery and quickly gravitates toward treating Tomozaki with a friendly attitude the moment he shows any desire to be talkative. The show has a deeply positive message, I feel, and from what I see in anime, hear about from people all over the internet, and have felt personally at times, it's one that is really appreciated. I think I could and may make an entire video discussing concepts like escapism in anime or just more of Tomozaki's ideals, I don't know. But it's relatable to feel the yearn to escape into something more fun or easy. That's why Tomozaki isn't completely insane sounding when he expresses his negativity. However, it's easy to get lost in those feelings, and it's good to have a show wanting to remind us that there's more to life after all. I also really can't say for certain where the romantic aspect is going because it's not extremely heavy-handed, even though it's probably just going to be Hinami and Tomozaki, but I think it would actually be really cool if she could just end up being a platonic support friend for Tomozaki to subvert my expectations, and then he ends up dating the cheery girl instead because I like her better.
Take me to your Xbox to play Fortnite today. You can take me to Moisture Mire but not Loot Lake. I really love to chug with you. We can be pro Fortnite gamers.